Oh, this is my kitty, Gavin. Say hi, Gavin. Hi, Gavin. He is my very handsome boy. This is my little one. This is my little black kitty. Oh. His name's Nar. Hey guys, my name's Hope and I am currently in recovery from anorexia. So I'm going to talk about some signs that you may be developing an eating disorder or that you may already have one. These may also be signs that you see in someone else that could indicate that they have an eating disorder. So this is kind of a video to raise awareness. And these are things that I experienced myself. I can talk a little bit about what I experienced as well as I list these. The main symptom that people see is your weight changing. And I say this one first because I know that it's the main one that everyone talks about. And it definitely can be a sign that you have an eating disorder. But I want to make very clear that that is not even close to the only sign that someone has an eating disorder, because a lot of people don't show signs of weight changing at all. An eating disorder is a mental illness. Physical symptoms like weight changing is only a little piece of it. Another thing was being cold all the time. No matter if it's summer outside, I was wearing a winter jacket pretty much constantly. Basically, the bigger the coat, the better, because I just want it to be hidden away and not exist, basically. So anything that could hide me, besides it being really warm. The other thing is having difficulty concentrating and having a constantly foggy brain. And it's so difficult to concentrate on anything but your eating disorder. I almost still feel like I struggle with this sometimes. I don't know if it's just residual effects or what, or maybe I just became stupid from having the eating disorder for so long, but it was especially bad when my eating disorder was at its worst. I was working at the time at a pretty stressful job, and I remember just dreading going to work every day because I knew that I was going to have such a hard time concentrating, and it literally took everything in me to have enough brain power to get my job done, because it was like I couldn't think about anything. All I was thinking about was either food or sleeping because I was so tired. I noticed a pretty immediate difference once I started recovery and I was actually feeding myself again because my brain finally had food. I love to write and I've always loved to play word games like Scrabble, or there's a couple different apps that I've found that I really like. I finally noticed that I was able to do things like that again. My cat decided that now is a good time to play with one of his toys. And they will probably use the litter box throughout the duration of this video, and you will hear that in the background. Another thing was being tired all the time, like I kind of mentioned before. I was just exhausted. It didn't matter how much sleep I got. I worked Monday through Friday job, 8 to 5. On weekends, I would literally lay in bed almost all day and just drink tea and not eat, lay with my cats. That was kind of how I dealt with being tired. I don't know if anyone watching this has ever seen the movie Click, but I felt like I was on autopilot, like he is in the movie where he goes back and sees the things that he's fast forwarded through and it shows him on autopilot, and he's basically like a zombie and he doesn't really know what's going on. People are talking to him, he responds, but he's not really responding. He's just kind of a robot going through the motions. And that's kind of the best way I can describe being so exhausted with an eating disorder and trying to get through every day. You're on autopilot. It's not living, which is why it's so important to recover, because you're not living when you have an eating disorder. You're just on autopilot. So another thing kind of going off of being tired all the time was being faint and dizzy a lot of the time because my blood sugar was always low. So this could kind of go along with me having hypoglycemia. I remember I would be at work and walking around the office and I would kind of stop for a minute and just try and refocus myself. I was almost gonna probably pass out, but I never did, thank God. And I have fainted in the past from having low blood sugar from my hypoglycemia, so I'm actually really lucky that I never was at work and that happened. Another thing is I would notice my bones and my joints would just be aching. I would almost like creak and crack like I was an 80-year-old woman. My muscles were always sore. I still notice my one hip, I think it's my right hip, still gets sore a lot of the time, and I don't know if that will ever go away or if that kind of is permanently affected from my eating disorder. Having no padding on my butt, that hurt too. It's not good, you guys. Another thing would be having really brittle nails and brittle hair. I used to have gorgeous hair. I'll insert a picture right here. It was super long and gorgeous and flowing and down to my butt, and I would always get compliments on it, and I always took that for granted. I miss having that hair and regretting how shitty I took care of it. After my gastric bypass surgery was when my hair started to get really thin and brittle, but it definitely got worse and more thin as my eating disorder progressed. I've worn hair extensions pretty much ever since the gastric bypass surgery. Having brittle nails, like if they break off a lot of the time, that's another thing. Weak enamel on your teeth, it's from lack of nutrition, obviously. I noticed more so than my teeth, my gums started to recede, and they're still not right, and I think it's because any food that was hot, like I wanted it like extra hot. That kind of ties in with like a weird eating disorder thing that I have where I need foods that are supposed to be hot to be like wicked hot. I get blisters on the roof of my mouth and around my teeth. My gums are receding. I'm really actually afraid to go to the dentist now because of it, because I'm worried they're gonna be like, what are you doing? And I'll be like, drinking boiling hot coffee, and they're gonna be like, yeah, you probably shouldn't do that, and I'm gonna be like, but I want to though. I know that a lot of girls deal with this, and that's losing their period completely. And the thing with me is that I have PCOS, so I've never really had a normal period. It's gone from really bad to like kind of okay, and then I've been on like birth control to regulate it, and it's kind of been all over the place throughout my life. As I kept losing weight, then it just like completely disappeared, and I just like didn't have one. But at the same time, like I was already showing signs of not having a period before my eating disorder got worse, so I feel like they kind of just fed off of each other. I still actually haven't had a period in probably like 2 years at least, and I'm hoping that as I continue my recovery, it comes back. So I became extremely depressed for so many reasons. I hated myself. I didn't want to exist anymore. I hated my body, which I'm still in the process of learning to love. I didn't like my job. Things in my life just weren't where I wanted them to be, where I thought they should be at that point. I didn't want to do anything though. I didn't want to do things that I would normally like to do. At that point, I was just depressed and just wanted to isolate myself, basically. Along with that, I also feel like I was pretty numb to a lot of things. I don't know how to describe it, but I didn't even really cry anymore. Like I couldn't cry. I couldn't really feel anything. Everyone would express these concerns to me. I would get really mad and defensive. Either that or I just didn't care. I would just feel nothing. The normal me is super emotional and sensitive. I don't know if that goes back to everything shutting down with my body or what. People would want to take me out to eat or something, and I would always avoid situations like that where there was food involved, or if I knew that there was going to be food somewhere, I would just restrict all day and I wouldn't eat until I knew that I was going to be going to this place. Either I knew that I was going out to eat somewhere, or I knew that I was going somewhere where there was going to be a lot of food and I was going to be expected to eat around people, because I didn't want anyone to suspect anything more than they already did. So then I felt comfortable enough, I guess, eating something at the restaurant we went to or the place that had a lot of food or whatever. Ideally, I would just not go, but if I couldn't get out of it, then that was what I would do in order to be able to go. This is probably the last thing I'm going to talk about, just because this video is probably getting like wicked long. I'm still not very good with these list videos, even though I want to be. I'm also just not very good at videos in general. Like, I don't know why I'm thinking that this YouTube thing is a good idea, because I kind of suck at it. But anyway, so the last thing would be being obsessed with food. So I know that I kind of just talked about having this aversion to food situations or food in general, basically. But I wanted to eat it, but I was terrified of it. Certain foods, I guess, I still struggle with being afraid of them. I remember I would spend a lot of time on Pinterest or on the internet in general, and I would look up recipes of things that I wanted to make but knew that I wouldn't because of the calories in it or certain ingredients that I thought were so bad. I would look at pictures and videos like on Instagram, little snippets of people cutting into like a donut and like all the chocolate running out, or someone pouring cheese all over nachos, and just like dream about eating food. I watched a lot of, I don't know if they're called mukbangs or mukbangs or mukbangs, but it's basically those videos of people eating either a lot of food or just like eating in front of the camera, and just try to live vicariously through them because I wanted to eat their food. There's probably so many things that I'm gonna remember that I didn't put in this video. So if you want to leave in the comments below anything that you feel like I missed or anything that you've struggled with or known that someone has struggled with, I'd love to talk about it with you. If anyone you know is showing signs like this, then talk to them about it. Or if you yourself has noticed a lot of these things in you, then please get help. Talk to someone about it. Call a helpline, anything, because these things aren't healthy. Like I talked about in my last video, it's so important to get help and come to the realization that you need help. Let me know what you thought of this video, and thank you for watching. Stay strong. I will talk to you guys next week. Bye.